All right, I'm here with my good buddy Superman Todd. Todd, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, going as good as it can be after the debate we all watched last night. You and I started talking earlier today and comparing notes. You said that you weren't one to watch very many presidential debates, and for me, it's always been kind of a sporting event in my family. Um, but we've definitely caught up on some of the clips and watched it. And there was some moments in the debate. I think so many people had high expectations for Biden. I think a lot of people was expecting another State of the Union kind of moment,
Yeah.
and I think they got so distracted by the fact that he wasn't bringing it like he did at the State of the Union that they missed out on a lot of things. And one thing that you brought to my attention was him talking about the black jobs. And that just kind of came out of left field. And when I went back and watched the second time, I was like, I was kind of so caught up in the moment that I actually kind of missed that part and didn't zero in on it. But it was pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I think after the initial shock of realizing how terrible Biden did in the debate, and like we talked about this morning, he was very much like a papal last night.
Mhm.
Well intentioned, still useful for a lot of things, but he shows up to the cookout and you just kind of got to make his plate for him and tell him to sit down and enjoy himself. Don't worry about doing nothing. We'll take care of it for you, papal.
Yeah.
That's how he was last night. And so once I got over the shock and started looking at some of these clips, I think after everybody gets over the whole, yeah, Biden's an old man, which we've known that, even though it's a little bit more evident last night, more than it has been in other public address type moments. Um, Trump gave a lot of ammunition to be played over and over again with the stuff that he was saying, which right now the assessment is, man, he's got all his lung capacity. He's really confident in all the bullshit that he's talking and saying. None of it's true. It's all ignorant.
Mhm.
Um, but boy, he's confident with it, and he's really with it tonight. He didn't have one of his senior moments last night, and I think at some point people are going to start dissecting the actual substance of it and
Yeah.
realize I think there's a lot of people in his team that, while they're gloating over how old Biden seemed, I think Trump probably went off script a lot last night and said some things that they probably told him he didn't need to say out in the
Yeah.
open.
Yeah, I can so agree with that. So let's take a look at this clip where they begin talking and he began using the phrase black jobs. And then we're going to come back and talk more about it.
He caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden.
So, man, what do you make of that?
I think that that's one of those moments that I think as he's saying it, and everybody has just got done seeing Biden struggle to form sentences last night and really just searching for his next thought and trying to, struggling with numbers and saying just slips of the tongue. People listen to that, they hear Trump just ramble. I mean, he sounds really good when he's saying that stuff, but that's one of those moments I think that Trump couldn't help but say that.
Yeah.
He could not keep himself from saying that. And what it means is, Trump's narrative is that the people who are coming over here from Mexico across the border are their worst people. They're from the prisons, they're from the mental institutions, they're drug dealers, criminals, murderers. And to him, in his mind, he thinks well, they're going to take all the black people's jobs. That's the only jobs they can get. They can only get the jobs of the black people. And I can say right here, I can lead with, he's really hurting. Just listening to him say those words is the black people. Like, how insensitive and inappropriate of a way to even say it like that. But, in Trump's mind, he confessed to everybody what he thinks about the black community is overwhelmingly he thinks these people have the lower skilled jobs. And they're the people who are going to suffer the most from all these criminals crossing the border. And I think it's going to play for a long time, and I think that's going to come back and bite him. One of the big comments is going to come back and bite him in this debate as it makes its way through the news cycle, makes it through all the viral videos of the stuff he says.
I absolutely agree. I think he definitely gave people a lot of material to dissect, later. And I think there'll still be stuff that we'll catch later and go, whoa, he actually said that. But if you'll notice, he just kept circling back every time when they would give him, a rebuttal or whatever, or ask a question. He dodged every question about policy. He didn't answer
a question. He didn't answer questions.
Yeah. He just circled back to the country was great when I had it going. I had everything in place. All he had to do was not touch it. But there's a clip I want to play for you because I found it to be very interesting. Now, whenever Trump says this stuff, MAGA has to find a way to spin it. And here is Marco Rubio trying his best to spin this latest bungle up from Trump. So here it goes.
We're taking black jobs. He was talking about migrants taking black jobs. What is a black job?
Okay. Well, a couple things. First of all, you know what he meant by that, okay? He meant jobs that are filled by African Americans in America and others, Americans in general, but the question in specific was about black voters. He didn't ask that question, the moderators did, and so he segued into the impact that it's had on black voters, and that is very simple. When you flood a country with millions of people, you're going to have more competition for work. You are, and those workers are willing to do it at a lower wage. And that you see that in some of the fields like construction and trades. It impacts Hispanic communities as well.
So yeah, that's Rubio's spin on things, man.
Yeah, that's about what I would expect, and that's the whole everything that he says is okay. And you made a video about that today. We talked about it this morning about how this debate really shows the differences in the way progressives feel about their candidates and the way conservatives feel. Democrats, progressive, liberals, socialists, communists, whatever you want to call us, are circling the wagons right now saying, where do we go from here? This is problematic.
Yeah.
And there's never been a moment like that for conservatives and Trump with all the, the crazy, if you just list out 3 or 4 things that Trump's done since he left office, even 1 or 2 of those things mentioned together are almost unbelievable. If you've gone back in time, being like, hey, Trump will do this.
Yeah.
And be like, no way. But at no point. And that's one of the funny things that I like is how many conservatives I'm seeing say, even CNN's talking about how Joe Biden did terrible last night and how Democrats are trying to figure out what to do next. It's like, yeah, like they're telling the truth that it's not rigged. It's not rigged like y'all have been acting like it is all this time. But not one time have the Fox Newses or the Newsmaxes ever at any point in anything Trump has done ever been like, I don't know, maybe it's time to go to somebody else.
Exactly.
It's never been like that.
No.
Fox News has paid out almost $1 billion, and they still never reached a moment like that where they go, hey, you know what? We got a lot of other Republicans over here who could run for president.
Yeah. And what you just said made me think, can you imagine years from now when our grandkids and great grandkids are studying this time in American history, there's going to be, hey, after he left office, he did this, he did that, he did this. There's so much to unpack when it comes to Trump. Like any other time in history, you had one guy that did one thing, it's like and there was one big thing, but now it's like all of these things lumped together and it's going to be in the history books. And I just wonder when when long after you and I are gone, man, like what our great grandchildren are going to look back at this time and see and how they will view this point in American history, because it's a crazy time to be alive.
Yeah, it really is. Hopefully we still have history books by that time.
Exactly.
Hopefully our kids are still going to school when that's
a great point. That's a great point. But yeah, and notice with Rubio too, he said that well, the moderators asked that. They always find a way to spin it against the person that asked the question. And like you said, leading up to it, it was, the game is rigged. They're going to rig it against Trump. And today, if Trump had had, let's say that the debate had been the exact same thing, but let's just say Trump got froze and Trump got stuck. Today, it would be a completely different. They'd be saying that it was rigged. No matter what Trump did last night, good or bad, if it'd been bad, they would have said the game was rigged against him. That would be what they were crying today. So
yeah. I mean, they've watched the same things happen to Trump. I mean, we're talking about an 81-year-old man and like a 78-year-old man.
Yeah,
they're both at that point where they have days and moments where all cylinders aren't firing.
Yeah,
and he's had those days where he's fallen asleep in court and audibly farting so loud that he wakes himself up. I mean, it could be Trump. It could have been Trump doing that. The next debate could be totally flip-flopped.
Yeah,
and roles reversed, but there will be no panic by the Republican Party if he has a debate like that. There will be no panic whatsoever.
Yeah, and that's so crazy, man. I never would have thought that the Republican Party would be here. I have had so many, trolls in my comment section and people reaching out saying, "Hey, what do you think you're a guy now?" And I'm like, well, he's 81 years old, but he was, for the most part, he was speaking the truth. He might have got his numbers mixed up at times and got tongue tied a couple of times, said the wrong thing. But, he was speaking coherently. He was at least telling the truth and answering the questions. And Trump was just spewing lie after lie after lie. And it kind of all comes down, man, like how people are sitting back watching this, how they're interpreting it. Like you said earlier, Trump was saying what he was saying with all the confidence in the world. And that's what a lot of people latched onto, was just, hey, he's saying it confidently, so it must be true.
He's saying it loud. And we talked about this earlier. Biden had some zingers. That line about, hey, you sexually molested a woman, you had sex with a porn star, and you're talking about morality. You got the morality of an alley cat, but he said it in a vault. He said it like your papa would say it to you if you went and sat beside his bed on the nursing home. Like, that's the level of gusto he said it with.
Yeah, he didn't deliver it in a way. If he'd have delivered that same line with the passion he had at the State of the Union address, it would have been like front page. Yeah. It would have been, that's what had me so distracted the first time watching it, was I was just kind of leaning in going, come on, Joe, speak up, because there was times where I was kind of having trouble hearing him. It wasn't necessarily understanding him, but it was like he was talking in such a low tone that's why a couple of times I was like, and then like you said, when he did deliver some really good lines, I was like, that needed to be said louder and more in Trump's face, because you could definitely see it getting under Trump's skin when he started referring to him being a felon and calling him a whiner. Yeah, you could see Trump like biting his teeth. He was gritting his teeth so hard right there.
Could have just went a little bit harder on him. And transition from whiner into a loser or a failure. You're a failure. You got beat by me. You failed just like you failed in everything else you've ever done in life. I feel like you could have got under his skin too. But then, and that's the whole point. Like, it was all about the delivery. Trump confidently said that 2/3 of Americans supported overturning Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
And that's not even true in red states. The red states have proven that's not even true there.
Yeah.
And he all the legal scholars wanted it overturned, not find one.
Yeah.
Who's not paid by some conservative think tank who thinks that. Blue states abort babies after they're born. Like,
yeah. That is the one. That's the one time that Biden did say that's not true. That's the one time he did call that out. But the moderators just completely gave him free reins and never called him out on anything. Never fact checked anything. Just let him have a microphone. But it's one of those. It's kind of a double edged sword. I've thought about this. I'm like, had they Had they fact checked him, had they stopped him in his tracks, then today we would be hearing that they all teamed up on him and the game was rigged. So
I feel like the moderators did what they probably had to do, like because everything's been rigged up to this point, and even saying you're fact checking something isn't. It comes with the claim of they're censoring him, silencing him.
Exactly. So that they were up against that. We kind of have to take that into consideration. I was sitting there annoyed by it. I was like, come on, call him out. And then I also see that if they did, like you said, it would be they were trampling on his First Amendment, because that's what happens when you fact check MAGA.
Yeah.
But man, I really appreciate you coming on the channel and talking with me again. Come back anytime. We're always sharing text messages back and forth and having really good conversations. And there's times you and I have had plenty of like audio message conversations back and forth. I'm like, dang, we could have had a podcast out of that. So we'll just stay in touch, man.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
We'll see you.
See you later.